10 years of my life. 10 years of sleepless nights, empty bank accounts, and canceled birthdays. All to build my company from nothing. And in one dinner, my own family told me to hand it over to my younger sister. They didn't know that in that moment. I was already planning exactly how to take everything with me when I walked away. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe to Revenge with John for more jaw-dropping real-life revenge stories. And tell us in the comments where you're listening from. And after you hear my story, let me know. What would you do if your own family tried to take away everything you built? My name is Esther, I'm 33 years old, and about a decade ago I started a tiny tech startup called Pulseware. Back then, I had almost nothing, just a second-hand laptop, a rickety desk, and a head full of ideas no one believed in. People told me I was a dreamer, but I didn't care. I wasn't chasing a paycheck. I was chasing something that would be mine, built with my own hands, my own rules. Those first years were brutal. I wrote code until my wrists ached, pitched to clients who didn't even look up from their coffee, and celebrated small wins alone in that cramped little office. But slowly, step by step, things changed. We landed our first big client. We secured funding. The team grew, and I could finally see the future I'd been killing myself to build. Then came Sarah, my younger sister, fresh out of a prestigious business school, armed with charm, confidence, and the kind of praise from our parents I had never known. From the moment she graduated, my family started pushing for her to join Pulseware. She's got the business sense you need, they said. She'll take the company to the next level. I didn't resist at first. It even felt good to have family involved, at least in theory. And in the beginning, she did have a few clever ideas. I gave her credit where it was due. But it didn't take long for the balance to shift. Suddenly, meetings revolved around her suggestions. Clients asked for her by name. Worse, she began making decisions without me, approving budgets, launching campaigns, even signing contracts, all without so much as a text. When I brought it up to my mother, her response was like ice water down my spine. Esther, maybe it's time you step back. Sarah could be the future of this company. You've already done your part. The meaning behind those words became crystal clear one night at dinner. Our father set down his fork, looked at me, and set it in front of the whole table. It's time to hand over the leadership to Sarah. The voices around me faded. 10 years of sacrifice, reduced to a polite suggestion that I disappear. Sarah didn't even look at me. She just swirled her wine and smiled. For her, the game was already won. But as I left that night, the cold air hit my face and something sharper cut through the anger. This wasn't just sibling rivalry. It was a hostile takeover. And they didn't know it yet, but they just handed me the perfect reason, and the perfect timing, to take back everything. The night after that family dinner, I sat at my kitchen table with a blank notebook in front of me. I wasn't here to wallow. I was here to map out every step of my next move. Pulseware wasn't just my company. It was a blueprint I had memorized by heart. I knew the exact clients who brought in the most revenue, the engineers who could solve problems before anyone else saw them, and the vendors who trusted my word more than any contract. Those were the arteries that kept the business alive, and I was about to reroute them. Over the next few weeks, I scheduled catch-up coffees and quiet lunches with key clients. I didn't talk about Sarah. I didn't talk about the tension. I just listened, asked about their upcoming projects, and planted one simple seed. If I ever worked on something new, I'd want you to be part of it. The responses were better than I'd dared to hope. They trusted me. They'd follow me. Within my own team, I was careful. No big announcements, no reckless whispers. Just small conversations after hours, in empty conference rooms, or on the walk to the parking lot. A few engineers. A marketing lead. One operations manager who could run circles around anyone Sarah brought in. Each one agreed to join a side project when the time was right. Every valuable proposal, every proprietary tool I'd developed, every draft for upcoming projects, I duplicated and stored securely under my name. Legally clean, ethically debatable. But I wasn't here to play nice. They wanted me gone? Then I'd leave, with everything I'd built. Meanwhile, Sarah was thriving in her own mind. She held longer meetings, spoke louder, made bolder claims about her vision for Pulseware. She didn't notice the clients who had gone quiet with her. She didn't see the subtle drop in morale from the team. And she didn't realize that the strongest roots of the company were already planted in my new soil. By the end of the month, the paperwork for my new company was in my desk drawer, signed and sealed. I had a name, a brand, and the contracts that would keep it alive from day one. The last piece fell into place on a Friday afternoon. A major client, one that accounted for nearly a quarter of Pulseware's revenue, signed with me privately. It was the final key in the lock. I remember sitting in my office after everyone had gone home, staring at the city lights through the window. It wasn't just anticipation I felt. It was certainty. The moment was coming. And when it did, they wouldn't just lose me. They'd lose the very heartbeat of Pulseware. It was a Tuesday morning, the kind of morning where the air in the office feels too still, too heavy. Sarah was holding yet another vision meeting in the conference room. Our parents were there too, smiling like proud shareholders. I sat at the far end of the table, a slim folder in front of me. Inside was everything: my resignation letter, the signed contracts for my new company, and the legal notice ending my stake in Pulseware. Sarah was in the middle of a speech about new leadership strategies when I cleared my throat. Every head turned. I slid the folder to the center of the table. "I'm resigning," I said. Silence. Not a shocked gasp, not yet. Just confusion. My father frowned. "Esther, let's not be dramatic. We can discuss your role." "There's nothing to discuss," I cut in. "My new company launches tomorrow. And most of the clients you depend on have already signed with me. So have key members of the team." That was when the gasp came from Sarah. She looked down at the contracts in disbelief, her smile collapsing into something sharper. "You can't just take them," she said. I leaned forward. "I didn't take anything that wasn't mine to begin with. I built those relationships. I delivered on every promise. I earned their trust, something you wouldn't understand." The room shifted. Our parents' expressions hardened, panic replacing the earlier smugness. Sarah flipped through the folder, her fingers trembling just enough for me to notice. "You're sabotaging us," my mother said quietly. "No," I replied. "I'm setting myself free. There's a difference." I stood up, smoothed my jacket, and pushed in my chair. "I'll send over the final separation paperwork this afternoon. But just so we're clear, I won't be available for advice or transitions. Pulseware is yours now. All of it." I walked out of that conference room with my head high and my heartbeat steady. Not a single person tried to stop me. They just sat there, frozen in the reality I'd left them with. That night, as I unpacked boxes in my new office, my phone lit up with missed calls, Sarah, my parents, even old colleagues trying to talk. I didn't answer a single one. I stood at the window, looking out over the city. For the first time in years, my company, my real company, was mine again. And theirs was already starting to fall apart. The morning after I walked out, my inbox looked like a battlefield. Clients confirming they'd moved their accounts to me. Vendors asking for updated contact information. Team members sending me their official resignation letters to Pulseware. Some with a little smiley face in the signature, like they were celebrating a secret victory with me. Meanwhile, through whispers from old colleagues, I learned how the office was coping. Which is to say they weren't. Sarah had called an emergency meeting that lasted 4 hours. Half the team was already gone. The others were fielding calls from angry clients demanding to know why their account managers had vanished overnight. By the third day, I started hearing from my parents. First it was a curt voicemail from my mother. "We need to talk. This is bigger than you think." Then a text from my father. "You've made your point. Now come back and fix this." I didn't reply to either. Through friends still inside Pulseware, I learned that Sarah was drowning. The major contracts I'd taken with me were just the start. Without those accounts, their revenue projections collapsed. One investor pulled out entirely. Another threatened legal action for breach of deliverables. The irony? Sarah had spent months telling me I was too cautious with growth. Now she was learning what happens when you push forward without a safety net. One afternoon, I got an email from a longtime supplier. He'd worked with me for years and his message was short. "Sorry to hear about the mess at Pulseware. Glad to see you're thriving. If you need preferential rates for your new operation, you've got them. It made me realize something. My network wasn't just intact. It was stronger than ever. A week after I left, I was leaving my new office when I saw my parents waiting by my car. No Sarah, just them. My mother looked tired. My father looked smaller somehow. We can't keep up, he said. Sarah's trying, but it's not working. I kept my hand on my car door. You have my answer, I said. You wanted me gone. You got your wish. My mother stepped forward. We didn't think it would be like this. We thought. She trailed off, searching for something that would change my mind. But there was nothing left to say. That night, I sat on my balcony with a glass of wine, watching the city lights. For years, I'd been the one lying awake, wondering how to keep the company afloat. Now I was sleeping better than ever, while Sarah was probably still in the office, watching her empire crumble. And the best part? I hadn't even made my final move yet. They thought the worst had passed. They thought I'd already done all the damage I could do. But they didn't know, my last move hadn't even landed yet. It had been 3 weeks since I walked out of Pulseware. From the outside, they were still standing, but I could see the cracks spreading. Through my contacts, I knew their cash flow was drying up. Suppliers were demanding advance payment. The remaining clients were restless. I could have stopped there. But I didn't. An old friend, Marcus, worked in procurement for one of the largest corporate clients in our sector. A client Sarah had been bragging about courting for months. Over coffee, Marcus let it slip that Pulseware had submitted a bid for a massive contract. If they won it, it could keep them afloat for at least another year. I didn't hesitate. That night, I worked until midnight drafting my own proposal for my new company. I knew exactly how Pulseware priced their bids. I'd built that system myself. And I knew exactly how to beat it without leaving money on the table. The deadline was Friday. On Thursday morning, I submitted my proposal, polished, competitive, and backed by my team's spotless track record. Pulseware submitted theirs later that day. I didn't have to wait long for the result. The following Tuesday, Marcus called me. They went with you, he said. Unanimous decision. Pulseware's proposal was weak. I hung up, staring out my office window. That contract wasn't just another client. It was the lifeline they'd been counting on, and now it was mine. The next morning, Sarah called. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of me. Esther, you've made your point, she said, her voice tight. You got your clients, your team, your little company. But taking this contract? That's going too far. No, I said calmly. You took my company. I'm just making sure you can't do it to anyone else. She went quiet. I could almost hear her teeth grinding. This isn't over, she finally said. It is for me, I replied and ended the call. 2 days later, a contact inside Pulseware told me their investors had called an emergency meeting. Losing the contract had spooked them. Without it, there was no reason to keep pouring money into a sinking ship. I didn't celebrate. Not yet. I wanted to see it for myself, the moment they realized there was no way back. So I waited. And when the news came, it was even better than I imagined. It was a rainy Thursday when the news broke. Pulseware's largest investor had pulled out completely. The others followed within days. Without funding, the remaining contracts weren't enough to cover payroll. Vendors stopped deliveries. The office lights went dark, literally, when the power company cut service over unpaid bills. I didn't hear it from them. I read it in the industry news feed over my morning coffee. Pulseware closes operations effective immediately. I stared at the headline for a long moment. Not with regret. With relief. It was over. That afternoon, there was a knock at my office door. I knew before I opened it. Sarah stood there, soaked from the rain. Our parents were behind her, looking like they'd aged years in a matter of weeks. We lost everything, Sarah said. Her voice was quieter than I'd ever heard it. You could rebuild it. We could do it together. Start fresh. I let the words hang in the air. The same family who'd told me to step aside, now asking me to step back in. No, I said finally. I already started fresh, without you. My father's jaw tightened. So that's it? You're just going to watch us fall. I met his eyes. I didn't push you. I just stopped holding you up. They left without another word. Through the blinds, I watched them cross the street, huddled under a single umbrella, disappearing into the gray. I sat back at my desk, the hum of my new team working in the background. This office wasn't as big as Pulseware's had been. The furniture wasn't custom-made. But it was mine, every desk, every contract, every line of code. I've been asked if I regret it. If maybe I should have just left quietly and let them run Pulseware into the ground without my help. But here's the truth. They tried to erase me from my own creation. All I did was remind them, and everyone else, that without the person who built it, the structure doesn't stand. Revenge wasn't the point. Freedom was. And I finally had it. I locked my office door that night with the kind of peace I hadn't felt in years. Not the peace of winning, but the peace of never having to fight that battle again.